Smells like Teen Spirit. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Think About It Reviews, and I am talking this new documentary on the life of Kurt Cobain called Kurt Cobain Montage of Heck. Now, this is directed by Brett Morgan. Producing it is actually his co-producer is actually his daughter Frances Cobain. So I'm gonna let you guys know a little bit of what I think about Nirvana and Kurt Cobain. Like, I didn't know too much about Kurt Cobain. I knew Nirvana. I like some of their stuff. I like a lot of their stuff, actually. But I was never a heavy, hardcore fan. I just like some of their tracks, some of their music. I know David Grohl was on in Nirvana. Then he made Food Fighters, and Kurt Cobain was always. I knew he committed suicide, but I never really got to know the man. I heard a lot that he was always depressed, that he was just a soul that just was never at ease. So I just, and then the Courtney Love, and I know Courtney Love, but I didn't know Courtney Love and how these two met, and like, the home footage and stuff. And you get a lot of home video artwork from Cobain. He has a lot of, he loves to draw. So there's a lot of artwork in here. And the style of this documentary is not you know, it's a little bit different. It's definitely not the traditional one where you got a bunch of interviews and stuff. You have the interviews in here, but you have this like chaotic montage of imagery. There's a lot of imagery. There's a lot of when the band was playing, Kurt Cobain interviews, just him, pictures, a lot of pictures. It just was jumbled everywhere. But it was, as chaotic as it was, that's kind of the mindset. That's what they were going for. That was really the mindset of Kurt Cobain. So watching this documentary, I was just like, I was automatically taken in to the rock, the real rock and roller of Nirvana. This is the guy who really was the heart and soul of Nirvana, and he did have his two bandmates, but it was all about Kurt, because Kurt wrote his own lyrics. He definitely had that rebellious rock star attitude towards him. Yet it was more than that. It was deeper than that. He was definitely a troubled man. He was a troubled young guy. I mean, it was crazy seeing the tradition. I liked how the director went traditional in the very beginning, and then it just went chaotic as when we're reaching its end. Because in the very beginning, we do get interviews with his mother, with his father, with his stepmom. And we see him, home videos, pictures of him growing up when he was a child. And I said, I said, listen, it's crazy how when you're a kid, it's so innocent, you're just enjoying life. But then when you move on, when you grow up, how much things could change for you. Now, with Kurt Cobain, he had like this, I don't know what you would call it, but he was constantly in pain. He constantly had stomach pains, which was crazy. Plus, he had ADHD. He was bipolar. I mean, there's a lot to this guy. And not only that, when he started to grow older, it was his parents. Then his parents divorced. And then his dad remarried, then they had kids. His mom kind of kicked him out, and he would live from house to house to house, like every single year. Like, he would always be somewhere else. He got into pot when he was 13. He got into heroin like in 1987. I mean, this guy was just like, he got into heroin, he got into all this kind of stuff because he was constantly not in physical pain, but also emotional pain. He always felt like he wasn't good enough, which was kind of crazy. Just watching Kurt Cobain, it made me, my stance on suicide is, I'm not going to feel sorry for you if you're going to take your own life. I mean, there's a lot of problems in this that we live in, people have it worse than you if you think about it. But Kurt Cobain, listening to this story, it is very tragic. But you have to understand, you do got to understand, that people do feel like they're so depressed. And I love the quote. I forgot who said it about Kurt Cobain, that it didn't matter if how many people loved him. He just didn't love himself. And that's a great quote to take from, because it's like, I mean, suicidal thing is a freaking, it's a touchy subject. That's how I feel about the matter. But I understand how people feel like this. I mean, you don't want your loved ones to, do that. I've been surrounded. I've witnessed that experience and stuff. I not as close of a loved one as I thought, or I'm not a loved one, but my loved one's girlfriend's brother. I'm not gonna say any names or anything like that, but it was like that situation. Like not my loved one. I hung around with him and stuff, but I wasn't really great friends with him, so to speak. So, but he was constantly depressed. Depression is just such a touchy subject and such a hard thing to deal with. It. I'm not gonna back away from it. I'm gonna say what I say. You know, there's been times where I've been super fucking depressed, but I'm not gonna fucking lay down and, you know, just die. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna, you know, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna go out, and maybe in an accident or whatever. I'm ready. Just bring it on. But my mentality is like, just keep going. You know, just make it hard for life to take me down. It's kind of crazy because Cobain at one point he does a lot of suicide attempts. I mean, he done when he was even a kid. He fucking he was on a railroad tracks and he was waiting for that train to hit him, and it actually went to a different track, so it just barely missed him. So it's just crazy about Kurt Cobain's life and how he became so a depressed individual, but he found music, and that's what his calling was. He loved music. He loved expressing himself, and even though he was depressed, he's like, as long as I still am able to express myself, still able to, you know, get my shit out here to play live, then I'm good. But along the lines, we all know how this story ends, and along that line, I think he said also in his suicidal note that couple years, man, I haven't been feeling that way at all. Like it's been over, so he wanted to make it over in real life. I think there's a lot of imagery, there's a lot of footage from him, and dude, this guy was a junkie. Him and Courtney Love, I mean, we got some home videos. They were junkies, man. I couldn't understand what the fuck they were talking about half this time. I was like, wow, dude, this guy is so far gone. You look at every single picture and every single footage that if it wasn't when he was a kid, you know, in his Nirvana days when he got successful, he dreaded it. Like you could tell he just did not fucking care, that he did not want to be here, that he was just fucking done with it. He was done with it. And the real smiles came and the real happiness came is when his daughter was born, and you could see that father and daughter type relationship and how much it brought him joy. However, that still wasn't enough to sustain him, and he still was into the drugs, even though he tried to give them up. I think this documentary, if you're Nirvana, not even a Nirvana fan, if you're a Kurt Cobain fan, I think this is definitely the 101 class, you know, because I didn't know too much about Kurt Cobain until watching this documentary, and it does a good job showing you how fucking crazy this guy, you know, not crazy, but how depressed and where his mindset was even in a very early age. When I was watching this documentary, I was like, fuck, dude, this guy reminds me a lot of Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison goes into those fucking dark places, has those lyrics that's poetic yet dark. This guy's a fucking Edgar Allan Poe if you think about it. I mean, it's crazy how these celebrities, how these rock stars, how these legends are so legendary, yet if you peel it back, they're legendary, and they put their heart and soul in this music, but their heart and soul is in a dark fucking place. You know, even Tupac Shakur. I'm always going to say this. I'm the biggest Tupac fan ever, but I remember, you know, in documentaries where fucking, you know, friends and family, when they're interviewing, they're like, yeah, you just knew those final days with Pac's death that he just wasn't in a good place. He would just fake laugh, you know, he was constantly paranoid. This guy, and he got into the drugs. He got into the drugs hard, especially his first shooting when he thought Biggie did it. But yeah, it's just crazy how Cobain, and it's not the first time I've seen somebody dwell this deep into fucking destruction, you know, and this into loneliness, like other celebrities or even other family members or other loved ones. But even myself, sometimes I get in a dark place as well. But this guy, he definitely was, since he was, I don't want to say since he was born, because he was a happy little kid, but at some point he turned and he just hated the world. And it kind of explains that a little bit, but you're never going to really know unless Cobain really sits right here and does the realest fucking talk ever. But, you know, Kurt Cobain has been gone for a while now. He died at 27. So that's a fucking early age, man. That's a crazy. That's rock and roll death right there. And then once you get into the success, and he never wanted to be successful. He didn't care. He didn't get a rat's ass. He just wanted to be up on stage, rocking out. It just so happens that he fucking had the greatest rock band of all time. But he never wanted that fucking success. And it's crazy because now he got the success, and it just 27, that could have been stretched out if he probably never would have became famous. But when you become famous, it's whether you can handle that fucking, if you can handle all that shit or not. And a lot of times you can't, especially during the 90s and the 80s. So I'm going to leave it with this. Courtney Love, she is a crazy woman. She's crazy. Even before seeing this, I knew she was crazy. She was fucking always on drugs. She's up and down. I don't want to talk ill about her. But she's a crazy woman. But she did have fucking a crazy quote, which kind of tells you, like, Cobain, because Cobain is definitely an odd character as well. If you see a lot of his home footage and shit, you see their house, and he was a junkie. So was she. She was a junkie as well, but he was a rock star, and she was more of just. It never really tells you how they really met, but at all essence they were junkies. They were junkies. You look at that footage and you're like, "Fuck, man, that's a junkie's house." And so much of a junkie's house. I thought this was the craziest fucking quote, but it might be the fucking truest quote, and I don't deny fucking Courtney Love actually lying about this. And this is Kurt Cobain's life. He needed the drugs to, like, kind of just let him keep on going, because he was physically hurting and he was mentally hurting. But the quote is this: that Courtney Love said that Kurt told her, "I need to make $3 million. Just give me $3 million and I'll be a junkie for the rest of my life. And I'll just be a junkie. That's it. $3 million, just be a junkie." So that shit is crazy, man. That shit is definitely that's a crazy ass quote, but that's what it is. So I do recommend you check this out. If you like documentaries, if you do like, Kurt Cobain is one of the, like I said, I didn't know too much about him, and I came out just like, fuck, like, he's another character I've seen a lot through life. We all have different paths. So him committing suicide, the crazy shit is like the days before he committed suicide. And I think you guys need to check out this documentary, and I think you should check out it'd be a great read too, to hear all the interviews. David Grohl's not in here, but his other bandmate is. Yeah, man. I mean, it's a crazy ass documentary. It's sad. It's sad to see. It definitely, this documentary definitely had some imagery and stuff that, like, shit, what the fuck, it made me like, what? But watching this documentary too, it was disturbing. It was disturbing. That was Cobain's mind. That was Cobain. You got to really just take it in and say, fuck, what the fuck is all this shit? That's Cobain. That's what he was thinking and everything. So if you like shit like that, and if you like Nirvana, if you like Kurt Cobain, check this shit out. I mean, this was, it definitely was a great watch to learn about the tragic life of Kurt Cobain. I don't feel bad for him at the end of his days, because, like, I stand to my beliefs. But I understand if a lot of people do miss him, and it's just very. I am saddened that his daughter. I mean, that's a fucked up life. You got Courtney, who's always on drugs, and you got Cobain, who died. So I really just, like, fuck. The Frances, like, I feel for her. So it's we don't live happy lives. This is how it goes. A lot of us go into that dark places, and a lot of us are able to handle it or not. And some people, that's a great quote, as much as you have people love you, if he just didn't love himself enough. So thank you guys for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like the video if you like it, and comment below. Crazy stuff. All I gotta say though is it makes me listen to Nirvana a little bit more. Hear those lyrics a little bit more. So thank you guys for listening. Dana Man's out.